This is Fantasy Football Till Death.
Hello, my fine gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the FFtilD podcast. We're in year 18 and we're just getting started. Sam, we're looking right outside my window right now. I've got a praying mantis that's been on a kumquat tree for 3.5 weeks. The sun is shining, and in spite of everything going on in life, I feel great, man. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, and I'm thinking about it. You're talking about naming your team Locust Theory, but I think you got to throw some respect on Frank.
Fred,
damn it.
You almost pulled that off. Hearing it once off recall, I was going to be really impressed.
Fred. Come on, Fred.
His name is Fred. Yeah, it's a good point.
You should at least be your picture.
Just a praying mantis?
Yeah, Fred.
Like a scyther?
But actually Fred.
Oh, actually Fred.
Yeah.
I need it. Maybe, do you specialize in like National Geographic style?
You can try to get some pictures of Fred.
You can? Can you? Do you have a lens that'll really get in there? He's kind of small. He blends in with the leaf.
I think we can make it happen. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. There's the inspiration. You start thinking about some praying mantis related names that you want to send my way. Since this was your glorious revelation and idea, I could use some help.
I'll start thinking.
Well, regardless, like I said, we're feeling good. We're in year 18 here. We have approximately, so it's August 6th that we are recording. Insight into how long it takes to get this edited and posted. It's Wednesday, August 6th. And we are drafting on what? The 31st?
24 days from today.
The 30th.
31st.
Something
the
like
30th.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
30th, 8 p.m.
Hey, tomato. We have no time at all. I mean, Kendall is at this point furiously blowing up the group chat with information, with content. Apparently he's going to be ready, and he's curious as to the rest of you guys, if you can match his level of intensity. Are you feeling the pressure?
Can we bring
Kendall?
it? Who is drafting Praise Oligakwe in the first round?
Do we need to take a second to reflect on what being ready relative to Kendall's being ready even means if we got a full hype video last year to kick off the season from him, and then his first pick was Praise? Like, what does that, Kendall, what does that really mean, being ready? What is ready to you?
And the 0-7 start out of the gate, too. Praise into the 0-7 start out of the gate.
Well, don't get him going on what went into the 0-7, because he'll say that's an outlier, of course. But we need to focus on things that aren't outliers, and the Praise initial draft pick it doesn't line up with, let me spam the text thread with content and say, are you on my level? It doesn't. There's some disconnect there.
He gave me an explanation for this off the record, but I feel like I should bring it on the record.
Did you sign an NDA?
We didn't sign an NDA,
okay,
so legally I can talk about this. Remember, he's had a year to think about this now, right? So his explanation was that every year he wants to end the draft with a player that he can axe immediately so that he can make some moves and pick someone up off the waiver wire. So Praise was like that. No, whatever, spend $1. He's going to take up a roster spot. It's a hometown guy I'm rooting for. Ken likes his international players, and he knew that it would buy him the opportunity to axe someone right after the draft and pick up someone else that didn't get drafted. Thoughts?
Yeah, I see the train of thought there. That's all I'll say. There's also guys that you can spend $1 on that have 2 ankle rolls away from being starting running backs that could transpire in 2 days. Not a guy that isn't on the roster. So I get the logic, but there's I think better ways of doing it. But
we'll see if he does it again this year. Yeah. What do I know?
Anyways, anything new in your life, Sam? It's been a couple weeks now. We had the hiatus. You went to Colorado for a second time. You made that drive.
Yeah, we did.
Was it better the second time around? Was it worse the second time around?
It was better. We stopped. We saw my sister. So Scarlett got to meet her cousins for the first time. That was lovely. Scarlett went to my dad's house for the first time, and she had a blast. My dad's got dogs and cats and a pool. And it was like, she was so happy all week. And then we were able to mob the whole drive back 11 hours straight on the way home, and Scarlett champed it. So it was a good trip.
So now this is just like a weekly thing.
Yeah. So this weekend we're heading back.
You guys are so brave. That's so gnarly. I get nervous thinking about going down to Del Mar and spending time. I mean, not spending the time part, but just like the drive down to see the in-laws down there.
Yeah.
And that's like 40 minutes in the car.
I don't know that we could have done a road trip with Scar at 8 months. I don't know if we would have tried that. I think you were with us a few times in the car when she was having her meltdown, and it's like brutal.
That was like 4 months. That was
she
a long
was
time
4
ago
months,
now.
but she did that for a while. She did that for a while.
Same vibe.
So she's like old enough now that if we put Miss Rachel in front of her, it holds her attention. And that's like, she probably didn't get to that point until
you just strap her down and then just tape up the IV.
We
and
just
inject it
mainline
into
that
her.
Miss Rachel. But no, even like the Miss Rachel songs now, that will quiet her down and kind of trick her into not.
That doesn't seem normal.
I know,
What
it's
is
wild.
like what's happening inside the brain when that happens?
Russian propaganda, I think.
She's gonna grow up the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, kudos to you guys for doing it. That kind of commitment to the road is something that I've never been a fan of. So gnarly.
We love our road
I heard you almost came back with a cat.
We almost did. So
Why not?
We couldn't rip it away from my dad's wife, who loves it so much. But my dad and his wife found a cat in their backyard. They live in the middle of nowhere in Colorado, and this little kitten was like curled up in a shrubbery in their backyard, which it's a miracle that they found this cat, because they're like mountain lions.
It's a kitten, right?
Yeah.
So it's just
when they found it,
abandoned,
it
or-
was like 3-4 weeks old. It was like tiny, and it was just abandoned. Yeah. And just by itself. And the fact that it didn't get eaten by anything, a hawk, anything. And they like nursed it, like gave it the formula with the dropper and all that.
They did those little Instagram things from Dodo and stuff. One of those videos.
And so through that, my dad's wife obviously made a huge bond with this cat. But the cool thing about this cat is it looks exactly like the cat that we already have, which is kind of like Siamese-esque, but like with some stripes and but the cat's personality is so cool. And Scarlett just like loved this cat. And so my dad's wife was like, well, you guys should take it home with you. And we just couldn't. We couldn't. She's like so in love with this cat, and they already live in the middle of nowhere. And so you take this away from her, and then what?
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. So Scarlett, has just she been asking about the cat?
Well, it got Hannah and I talking like, man, we need to, I mean, our other cat, Chef, is very nice, and Scarlett and Chef love each other and get along really well, but Chef she's not a playful cat.
Well, Chef has a very traumatic backstory with her traumatic sibling event. So you can't, I mean, I don't know if you put her in therapy yet or what, but
Cat
you
therapy.
need to kind of help her get through that.
Yeah, well, and she's making strides, and we give her space and her time. But we were like, man, Scar would do so well with also the dogs. Like she loves chasing my dad's dogs.
I think
around,
like if the opportunity presents itself, it's obviously tough in the current, I think probably in the current setting, but a dog is a little bit more tanky, ready to size up one-on-one with Scarlett. I
and
think.
help with like the crumbs on the floor. You guys probably aren't quite there yet, but like there is food all in every square inch of our house. No matter how many times we vacuum, I walk across the carpet and I'm stepping on old cheese stick or like cracker or whatever. So having a dog to just peruse.
That's actually a great call. If you can't do a Roomba, dog.
Yeah.
But that's an under discussed, I think, element of the kid aspect is just the cleanliness thing that you just don't think about. There's obviously the clutter because you just have all this stuff all over your house that you didn't before that's related to the baby. And there's not really space for it to go most of the time. So A, it's a bit of an eyesore. And then B, you use it so often that you really can't put it away. Like you just have it out in its spot. But then all of the like baby related stuff between the changes and the feeding and all this, there's just like Jess yesterday was like this happens often. just kind of like reaching her wits end with the cleanliness of the house. And like in my mind, I'm like, our house isn't that bad. Like it
looks
feels
good.
pretty clean. Like it's just a guy's point of view, I think. And I think there's the like, it's hot. Sometimes the deep cleaning aspects stick out a little bit. And as a guy, you're like, everything looks good. But she just gets to these like crisis modes of like, we need this house clean. It's just so awful. And a lot of it is just the baby. I'm like, hey, you can't be expected to have a spick and span house all the time when you have a baby. I think that was my
they're
conclusion.
wild animals.
That was my
like
conclusion.
the older they get, the more mobile they get, the more wild animal they get, and they don't care if there's food from yesterday on the floor or on the wall or
on
whatever.
their face, on their hands.
They just don't care. No, that's part of the transition of becoming a parent that I've struggled with.
You let go.
Is like you have your space. For the last 15 years as an adult, I've had my space that I focus on making vibey and comfortable. And like the kid doesn't care about any of that. And so it's a big transition. Now we just have toys and food and high chairs and diapers all over the place. And it's not a vibe. It's not the vibe that I started with. It's a different vibe.
It's different now. We've said it. It's different now. But yeah, I mean, talk about being mobile. Beckham has fully gone nuclear. Like he's been crawling now for a couple weeks now, but like it's at this point he won't stay put ever. Like you sit him down, you're thinking like, okay, you got toys all around you. Maybe you'll just amuse yourself with some of these toys for a bit. Nope. Pick it up for a second and then
on to the next.
Just focused on somewhere in the house and then bang, just he's picking up speed. Like his MPH is increasing day by day. Like before it was like, oh, he's going to take a little bit to make his way across the room. Now it's like you look away for a second, he is grabbing something, pulling something. Like I think he's close to pulling himself up. And this all happened so fast. It was like he couldn't crawl. And now not only can he crawl, but he's like, I feel like literally about to be like standing on things.
Oh yeah. I'm sure he will. He's got crazy core strength. So the second it's just about him learning that he can do it. And then that's all he'll do.
And he's got crazy grip strength too. It was funny. We were hanging out with my cousin. Not me. Yeah, it must have been Jess. Yeah. We were hanging out with my cousin who also has a baby that's 8 weeks older than Beckham the other day. And his guy's super mobile. He's fat. Like he's moving all over the place. I can only imagine what Beckham's going to be like in 2 months. But she was playing with Beckham and she had her like hair dangling in front of him and he reached out and grabbed it. And I was like, oh, careful. And she's like, oh, it's fine. And then he straight yanked it and wouldn't let go. And she's like, oh, and
like a pit bull.
Yes. We finally got it free. And she was like, oh my gosh, like his grip strength is way more intense than Augie, her baby, who's 2 months older. I was like, I don't know what that means, but hopefully we can figure out a way to make that advantageous
to monetize
for us. That? Is that NIL where they want to do grip strength? So it's crazy how fast they go.
Now that he's mobile, is he showing you things around the house that you hadn't really even thought about that need to be baby proofed, moved, taken out of the way?
Honestly, what we like, so we'll set up that living room area with like the mat, and we have another mat. We basically like mat up the whole area, and then that rug sort of connects to under the table. And so we've just basically used that as the base of operations. So if he's playing, we just like all watch him in that general area.
Kind of keep him corralled in there.
I'm not letting him go throughout the entire house yet. So he'll do his thing, and then I'll just like move him over, trying to keep him as much as possible off of the hard surface, although he doesn't care. But that's like the goal: keep on the carpet or the rug and the mats. So we haven't opened the complete floodgates yet and given him access to everywhere. And as of now, because he's still just crawling, there's not too much that we necessarily need to baby proof. It's just kind of keeping an eye on him.
Yeah.
So
it'll happen fast.
Yeah.
Check in next week.
Anything else going on? Anything else you need to catch the league up with?
No, that's it. It's pretty status quo over here in our life.
That's good. Status quo is good.
Yeah. 35 coming up. Turning 35 next week.
That's a big thing. Let the people know.
Yeah, so I've just been waking up in the middle of the night, like panicked about that. Other than that, everything's pretty much normal. Yeah.
August 6th, guys. So 6 days. And Sam's starting the big 3-5.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't like it.
I know you don't. What's the biggest thing that keeps you up at night?
Just how fast it goes.
Yeah.
Like 35 is just a weird number to think about when like in your head you still feel like the 25-year-old version of yourself. And it's like, I mean, you just know, like at some point, I don't know, the numbers just start feeling so surreal.
Yeah.
And 35 kind of feels like that a little bit. It's like, damn, 30 to 35 is so fast, and 40's like the next big milestone, and just goes fast, you know? And then like just the little reminders, like looking at rosters and being like, this person was born after 9/11, you know, or
crazy.
Like,
yeah.
oh, the comeback story. Teddy Bridgewater signed with Tampa, he unretired 32-year-old Teddy Bridgewater. And
so
it's like,
crazy.
Where I'm old by professional sports standards. That's just, it's weird. Yeah.
The existential bummer. Yeah. I think I've mentioned this before, but it's something that's always stuck with me. And I think about it because it is such a reminder of like, you know, things stay the same, like in sports, and they just get refreshed and revitalized, but we're just on this track of like ships in the night sailing the opposite direction past each other. But my older brother, Nick, he always told me, like, whenever we talked about age, cause he's 8.5 years older, and he was like, yeah, dude, it starts to hit you when all of the athletes that you're rooting for and your favorite sports teams are younger than you. When you start to become older than the athletes, that's when things start to feel really weird, because athletes are spoken about in a different sort of age classification. And you're like, to your point, oh, this 35-year-old is ancient. You're like, wait a minute, I'm 35. Yeah. And it's just like this weird, trippy psychological thing that goes on. So
it's really weird.
Yeah, we're on the back end of that now.
We're on the back end.
Pretty soon it's going to be like there's going to be no athletes that are our age.
But here's another way to think about it. I think the Constitution says you have to be 35 at least to run for president. So our presidential window is only just opening.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So we're babies in
Spring
presidential terms.
chickens.
In terms of politics.
Spring chickens. Yeah.
And I did a politics deep dive the other day. What it would look like if I got into it.
Yeah. Are you thinking about it?
I don't think it's really feasible at this point.
Why is that? I think anyone like
at any point you just start small.
These days it's just like it's kind of a
campaign
going viral situation. I think for a lot of people, you just got to say the right
Let's
things.
Let's get this podcast viral, and then maybe we can work into it.
Are you saying we need to start taking hardline political stances on obscure, viral?
No. Let's not take any hardline political stances.
Like, what is your opinion on women's suffrage? Because I feel like that's hot on the alt-right right now, is talking about conversations that were settled in the 1800s. So let's hear it. What's your opinion on women's suffrage?
Really? Was that an exaggerated sort of like talking point, or is that actually...
You want to get into this?
Yeah. If it's being spoken about.
I've got some things to unload from my chest here.
I think I know things like women's sports, right? I'm down to talk about the WNBA.
Equal pay. What's your stance on equal pay in the WNBA?
I lean more on the, I think I'm more in the middle on this topic, but I think you should acknowledge the financial aspects of it. But I also think you should acknowledge, potential growth, endorsements, things that go beyond the pure finances of a league. So I'll keep it kind of vague in that way.
Vague to interpret that answer one way or the other.
I definitely lean more one way on it, but I can see arguments being made both sides. Yeah.
Let's leave it there. Don't take the bait.
Well, listen, guys, I have time to run for president, because I'm officially, as of end of last week, looking for a job, because I was mercilessly cut down by my company at the basically drop of a hat. No warning, no anything. So caught the corporate axe, big restructuring, mass layoffs was one of many casualties. And so now I have room to start my political career.
Just the wake up one day and go to work, and then
3 minutes later, and
there is no work,
and there's no leaving. There's just, you're in the same room.
Oh my gosh.
The remote axe.
It's just so brutal and crazy that like, I mean, obviously that's life in general. You don't have control over anything, but like that's how it works, that you can just like show up every day and do a good job and be a key contributor. And then one day they're just like, please don't contact us anymore. They block you. Like that's it. It's over.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole with it or talk too much about it, but it was really crazy how it went down, just as from like a human level, on a personal level. And, but the more I reflect on it, it's like, there's a lot of aspects of, especially of remote work, where, especially if you're not in a position where you're like, yeah, I love this company, I want to retire with this company. Like, I think a lot of us see jobs more as like you're a hired hand and you want to just do your work and do what you need to do. And then when you're done working, and as little interaction with work people that you can have. Like, I think that's sort of the nature of remote business. And that's one of the reasons why I like being fully remote, is I can treat it like that, where I just do what I need to do. And then that's it. Right. Like, I don't want to have other conversations. I don't want to be contacted. I want to be just treated like, hey, working hours, do what you got to do. Talk to me however you need to talk to me and interact with me. But that's it.
Yeah.
And
leave work at work.
Leave work at work. But also just like the remote aspect of it too, is like, I don't want to be contacted. Like the least involvement that I can have with people is personally, like, I like that aspect of remote. So it does kind of make sense that they treated it inversely with the like removal, where it's like, bang, that's it. No interaction. You're gone. And that's it. That.
It's still
whatever
crazy.
it is.
But you're campaigning now. So you've transitioned to your campaign. So that's great.
Yep. I'd like everyone in the league to take this as a PSA. Vote for me for manager of the year, 2025, 2026.
2026. All right.
You heard it here first, guys.
Here first.
I'm going to do everything in my power to provide a campaign and a product that is worthy of your vote. I appreciate last year's endorsement. Let's run it and let's roll it back. Let's just run it, except this year with a title.
That's the one
I
piece
need a GM of the year with a title.
Yeah.
I've had a couple titleless. So let's make it happen, guys. Rally behind me.
we can do this. We can do this.
Speaking of rallying behind, I think we all collectively, rallied behind Mr. Jason Gregory in completing his last place punishment. As of right now, it was released about 24 hours ago. At least the video of his penance.
Yeah.
Made public to the rest of the league. Kudos to you, Jason, for following through with the punishment that we had set. Kudos and shout out to the TO guys for facilitating the production value.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Yeah, it was nice. Shout out Griffin Springfield for being a representative of our league and getting there and being a part of it. I guess what were your thoughts? You get to watch it, digest, be a part of it.
Well, first of all, I thought that I was kind of just expecting it to be like Eddie filming Jay and asking him questions. So I thought the production value was great. It honestly looks like Jay had a good time. He champed those wings, like didn't really seem to phase him that much. I mean, I know a few of those were rough, but like it's when you watch actual hot ones, it gets way worse. So kudos, Jay, way to man up. Cause I know he was nervous. I think he was pretty nervous about actually, doing the spice.
Doing the wings.
And he also put a good amount of sauce on the wings. I think he didn't like, it wasn't wimpy, there was a decent amount, especially those spicy ones. So that was good. Few interesting, things stood out to me. I think some shots were fired, about engagement, about who's worst, who's best, maybe a little insight into Jay's mind strategically on some things. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, let's unpack that a little bit. First, my overall thoughts were, I'll echo a lot of what you said. I was pleasantly surprised with the production value. The way that it was translated over text message, I felt like we were literally in store for like an iPhone video. Yeah. Eddie asking the questions.
Just get it done with.
Yeah. Just do it to do it. And it was hard not to like preemptively feel a little bit disappointed by that aspect of it.
That's understandable. You ran 10 miles last year.
It doesn't, it's not about comparison, right? But it's hard not to think about more so the effort value. Like, and this is going back to the preemptive thoughts. So this isn't how it actually turned out. But when I was thinking about worst case version of it, it was just like, it was hard not to think about, Jay was watching me, like that was no joke. There was a lot of aspects of my punishment where I was dying literally, that I had to like really try hard for an extended period of time to complete it. And like I said, it's not about comparison, but I think when you think of punishment, you think of, not that it has to be painful or like super taxing in one particular way, but I think it should be something that's like, you have to push yourself in some way to get through it, right? It's a little uncomfortable or whatever the case might be, but it didn't turn out that way. Like as far as the production goes, it was awesome how they set it up. So yeah, I thought they did a really good job there, and getting that video and how it was edited and all that was awesome. So was stoked on that. As far as the other stuff goes, like, I don't know. I guess when it comes to that stuff, it's hard not to think about when you think of like actual hot wings, right? Like, and it must be for a lot of production value, right? Like there might be some coaching because now I've seen it twice.
About the agony,
side of things, right? Where you're thinking about like, this is like a spiritual journey, right? And then you're thinking about how these people are responding. This is twice now. I've watched you do it and now seeing Jay do it, where it just didn't seem like it was that hard, right? So that part maybe took a little bit away from it. No fault of Jay's. That's what it was, right? And then the questions part, I thought it was really mild, honestly.
It was really mild.
It was super mild. I'm saying, you mentioned shots fired, and I'm thinking
the spiciest parts of the interview, I think, were who's the worst and who's the best. Then rank everyone based on engagement, which kind of ironic. Jay, I think maybe showed some of his engagement on ranking people in engagement. But those were, there's nothing else that was really that spicy, I guess. I like that some questions about Jay's trading behavior were asked, but I don't know that we necessarily glean much from that. No. So
yeah, it was really mild in that way. So thinking about shots fired, it's like, even the way that he answered them very politically. Yeah. Right. So, you have to give an answer. So there was going to be a name thrown around regardless. And then it comes down to like how you answer it, whether it's actually going to be spicy or not. Right. And so, so he said Casey was the worst player, and he referenced the Fantasy Pros draft guide or whatever. Which I don't know. It's not like he didn't say anything about Casey in season. He didn't say anything about his finishing. He literally he had to give an answer, and he gave that, and he referenced the Fantasy Pros thing. So to me, that seems very mild. Like he could have gone in. We're obviously not trying to hurt feelings, but if we wanted to make it content, like if you wanted to go in, there's a lot more meat on the bone if you wanted to go any sort of direction answering that question for anybody in the league.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he was mild there. Least engaged, I think he gave Evan. Right?
Yeah. Evan was low on the list.
I think he was last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Evan.
So which I think, to your point, as far as like, yeah, I think Jason will admit he's, like he said, the last few years he's been a little bit checked out, right? And so I think some of the answers showed some of that, which is not surprising. He had admitted it, right? And least engaged, that's whatever, an arbitrary. I think he just gave an arbitrary response, right? Like he had to give someone, and then even the way I think he prefaced it with like, okay, so most engaged people without kids, which direct contradiction when you have Kendall, the most engaged with kids, and then Evan, you give least engaged. He doesn't have kids. So it's like, all right, there's not a lot of consistency in the answers here. So you got to give Jay a little bit I think we give him a little leeway because of the lack of involvement or engagement on his part with some of the answers.
Maybe some of that spice was getting to him. Who knows?
Nah, I called it out in the group chat because it was hilarious. Jay, if you're listening to this, I didn't see much, but there must have been something in that bomb, because this is when you said I was the person you least like to lose to, and gave a reason that was 100% inaccurate. So I don't know where that recall came from, but it must have been the bomb.
The hallucinations that were being caused by the
only thing I can think of, this is the only thing I can think of, is because this is something that Jay would do, is maybe would be like texting me a complaint about something, and then like a complaint about a guy that I'm starting that maybe was a former waiver wire guy, that I then respond with rationale about why I had picked him up and started him, right? Like, I'm not going to sit there and defend like, oh yeah, I knew a waiver wire guy was going to score 25 on your ass, so that's why I did it. But if someone's complaining to me, essentially calling me lucky for a guy that I think I strategically picked up, I would explain that. But that's not something that I would be forthcoming about and be proactively texting. So that's my side of that. It's fine. I mean, I don't like losing to anyone. I wouldn't like losing to me either. So I take no offense with the answer, but the reasoning was a little bomb worthy, I would say.
Yeah. Spring did a really good job, I think, hosting, asking the questions. So kudos, Spring. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for showing up. And we've got a piece of content now that lives with the league. I like that. And I like moving forward, whatever the last place punishment is, incorporating some version of like capturing it so it can live on the YouTube channel and on the website, because it's really fun to like look back at these things, and they're like capsules of time as well. We just see where people are at, and this league is going on 2 decades old and hopefully is going to survive for many decades more. And it's just really, it will be cool to look back on some of these things and have fun with them and kind of share in someone's well-deserved punishment that they must face for getting last place. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like, to that point, amazing. Going back to like being able to have that and save that into production. I'm so thankful for that and so grateful that it didn't turn out in that worst case version of it. And so just for that reason, but yeah, back to your point about Spring, great job. Super proud of him for going and doing it. I told him this separately, but you looked good, Spring. Your hair looked good. You looked fit.
Good in front of the camera, huh?
I feel like you better be getting snipped, because if you're not getting snipped soon, if you're looking like that around Emily 24/7, number 3 might be on the way.
I mean, for not everyone in the league knows this, that we had an in-depth conversation on the physiology, the mechanism behind getting snipped. So
I muted my phone in the dad chat.
I mean, it was like a Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. talking about the ins and outs of a vasectomy. Yeah.
It gives me the heebie-jeebies. I mean, like, I'm glad I don't have to necessarily think about it right now.
Yeah. And we don't need to get into it, but some people seem really excited to get to that point in their life. And I'm like, I don't think I'll ever.
We digress.
Yeah.
We digress. Yeah. Shout out, Jay. Way to do it. Yeah. Shout out Griffin, everyone involved. Next punishment, I think we're going to be voting on it soon, but Jay did his job getting this done. Next one, like we said, let's turn it up a notch. Let's get back to a punishment being, I think, more of a punishment. Shouldn't be as fun, I think. I mean, Jay crushed it. Yeah, let's go.
And Jay, I just want to say,
a new level.
Hopefully this is the first step at bringing you back in, because like, I know that there's been a lot on your plate the last few years, but we love having you as an active contributing member of the league. And it was really fun to watch you do that last place punishment, and looking forward to having you at draft weekend. So hell yeah.
I'll echo that before we move on. 100%. Like, couldn't agree more. It was cool to see Jay like engaged, like smiling in regards to like the league and the group. That really like was like heartwarming. It made me happy to see that. Jay, thanks for being vulnerable and the times that you were vulnerable. I can speak for myself and say, I haven't done a great job of being there for you proactively and doing the best that I can, even although I know times were tough, right? I think oftentimes we just let our own craziness of life get in the way of that. But I'll take accountability for myself. And I think, we could all collectively as a league do a better job of being there for each other, right? So thanks for being vulnerable. I'll be better about that myself, and looking forward to have you, popping that dong Perry on again. So
well said.
Kudos.
Well said. And Jay, if you're listening, go ahead and drop that robot emoji.
Yes, with a champagne bottle.
Pop that dong.
And an eggplant.
Got to get the eggplant in there.
Yeah. We need Return of the Eggplant from Jay.
Yeah. He's back.
And I want to see the new name. And I do want to see the eggplant again.
It must come back. Speaking of team names, should we move on to our new mini segment that we're rolling out over the next 3 weeks leading
We got
up
a
to the
mini
draft.
series. What is it?
It's our mini series sponsored by HBO
Perfect.
and
Bill
Captain
Simmons?
Morgan. Lamad. We, folks, will be doing a deep dive on the divisions over the next 3 weeks. We're going to be taking a look at who is in the division, what their history has looked like in this modern auction era, and maybe some predictions for how we, the podcast hosts, might see things playing out this year.
I love that. So we're doing a 3-podcast divisional preview series. We're going to take a look at the teams, give some insight, talk about each manager, talk about a little bit of historical context post-auction, and then give some predictions about how we see them clashing interdivision moving forward.
Sounds like a plan.
Amazing.
And who do we have up first? Whose division?
Well,
is the
Sam,
lucky number one.
Funny that you ask, because I actually have that information right in front of me.
Oh, you're so prepped.
Do you want to ask again?
Which division, whom's division will we be starting with?
I wish we had the names of the division in place, which also, as an aside, I guess let's collectively figure that out soon. Can we get together with your division mates and think
Vote
of a name?
on names. Yeah.
We got to vote on some names.
We kind of did it into the season last year, I think, right?
I think we did it before the season started.
Okay.
Yeah. And I forget, I think we made it overly complicated. I think you can literally probably just text your division mates and be like, hey, what do we want to name our division? And then nominate it and send it to Graham.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's probably fine.
Yeah.
Unless we wanted to have divisions that like matched each other in some sort of thing. But I thought it was cool how we did it last time, where we just found something that the group wanted to do and then we just moved forward with it. So let's work on that as a side initiative. But the first division that we are previewing, Division 1 unnamed, and it is the division of the defending back-to-back champion, Mr. Commissioner Graham Simmons. Joining him is the new and revitalized Jason Gregory, as well as the 5-time champ, the king himself, Mr. Big Trip Springfield. And then lastly, we have our ultimate enigma, our Ra's al Ghul, League of Shadows, Luke and Dom. Initial thoughts. What stands out to this division before we deep dive it?
So I think some heavy hitters in this division. It's your division from last year, except you swap out Graham for you. Defending champ in this division, the person with the most championships in this division, rising star potentially in the Luke and Dom. They've been real competitive, I think, since 2021. And Jay on his comeback trail. So I think it's a really exciting division. We can potentially call out that we do have actually a few name changes here. Do we want to talk about Jay hasn't changed his name, but I love Trips Hog Heaven. We're going to have to get the story from that name at some point.
Hog Heaven. I think I did see that. I forgot.
Spring is Hog Heaven. Graham, Alchemist of the First Order. Love that. And Luke, continuing to stir the pot. Whose team is it? Whose team is it, Luke? Whose team is it? That's one thing that, just to go back real quick, one thing that Jay did give some insight on his opinion of it. Jay kind of sounding anti-Dom in this whole Dom-Luke situation because it's not fair. Two minds are better than one. So I'll just throw that out there. Ken and Jay now on the record saying I think it's unfair.
Couple things on record from that. Sorry to not to distract us, but I did think that was pretty insightful by Jay. I thought that's something that I don't often think about. Personally, I'm like, whatever, like, you can have those two minds. It's fine. As far as acumen goes, it's not something that I would be like a reason that would make me vote against it. More my reasons, if I were to have reasons against it, would be more just out of principle, not having a co-manager in general. I think it's just a more succinct, refined look to have one. You know exactly who to talk to, like all those little things. Cohesion, group cohesion, things like that. But the actual two heads and bandwidth argument that Jay made actually does hold some weight, has some merit there, because although none of us are in, the Japanese time zone, there's a lot of us that are, occupied heavily with other things, and bandwidth is hard to come by. So as far as the bandwidth aspect, with the way that Jay outlined it, I thought was actually really insightful. It was a good take. So
I agree.
The other hill that was stood on was the Divisions Hill. I think kind of had a feeling for it, but Jay and Springfield formed that coalition. And I mean, that's a huge deep dive. I strongly feel the other way. I understand what they're saying, but my side is very much opposite. But anyways, we don't need to go into that, but it was verbalized for everyone to hear.
The opinion was, just to make it clear, that the top 6 teams in terms of record, with the tiebreaker being points scored, should make the playoffs, not winners of divisions and wild card and all that, just the top 6 teams. So essentially an argument to not have divisions. A topic for another podcast. What are some storylines in this division, this defending champions division, that you've got your eye on going into the season?
I think we've talked about it before, but the early storyline is, can Graham pull off the three-peat, right? The seldom seen three-peat. Obviously, that's just
only happened
legendary.
one other time.
Happened one other time by spring. I actually misspoke before and said that it didn't happen. It actually has. Spring did it. So that's huge. I think there's the running fear when you're in that position of, will the fantasy gods finally catch up to me and smite down my team, right? Like, you just think of everything that has to go into winning 3 titles in a row. It's like, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's got to be insanely low, right? So Graham's going to be feeling that. There's the new Jay storyline. I love that. I love, especially coming off the interview. Jay's got a lot of pride. He's a smart guy. He's locked in with sports, and he's a great fantasy player. So, I know of late things haven't been kind to him, but I want to see, what changes, so I'm interested in that aspect of it. The Luke Dom, if they can continue this wait and see, this like sort of steady draft approach that's just yielded
nail the
great
draft
teams.
with
Yeah,
depth.
The depth angle that they've hit is, you think that it's not sustainable at the level that they've hit. It's one thing to consistently draft a deep team, but to have the players pan out pretty much at ceiling levels across that depth has been really awesome to see. And it's really impressive. So I'd like to see if that continues. We'll see if the dynamic between Luke and Dom becomes more transparent in some way.
Dom said he's coming to the draft.
I know, which is cool.
I hope he does.
I think that's awesome, because I think part of it is like, not a lot of people know Dom. Even personally, I've been around him quite a bit, but like random hangouts, not like we've spoken a bunch and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people that haven't met him in general. So he's kind of this mystery man. So I think that'll be good, since he is co-managing, to have him there. So interesting to see that play out. And then spring, I think this is something that hasn't been talked about, and we'll dive into this here in our deep dive, but the 5-time champ, a very sustained run of dominance like you haven't seen in fantasy, and that's so uncommon to see ever, likely unrepeatable. But of late, things haven't panned out, the way that he's wanted. And I think he's on a 4-year playoff drought currently. So
he hasn't broken 500 in 4 years.
I got the record too, and we go into the team by team. But yeah, so I want to see. We'll see. Obviously, there's a lot of things that go into that, right? Like, it's not just someone's individual ability to play fantasy football, right? But yeah, curious to see if that turns around. Obviously, because of the insane number of rings that Spring carries with him 24/7 already, it doesn't matter how much time passes. Any additional ring makes that number increasingly more gaudy. Like, it doesn't matter if he goes 4 years or 5 years without making the playoffs. If he wins a ring the following year, being at 6 is like a number you can't even fathom, right? Like, it's just crazy. So yeah, curious to see how Spring does this year, and see if he can reverse trends. But
hell yeah.
Thoughts on that?
I think that Spring could be in for a little change of course this year, because when I think about, can we get into this now? Can we talk like a little bit
Yeah, so
deeper about-
let's do this. Let's profile each team real quickly, and then we'll just do a little bit more deep dive into the manager. How about that?
Let's do
So you
that.
want to start with spring since we're
Let's start with spring.
So I'll just give you quickly. So we'll start in the auction era, and now this isn't going to be a crazy deep dive. This just gives us some sort of
Context.
some context and the foundation to kind of begin the conversation. But so from 2019 on, that's kind of where we're going to start this. And in that span of time, Springfield has made the playoffs twice. So we went back to back in 2019, 2020. 2019, he went 8-6. All right. That was the first year of the auction era. Followed that up with his last ring, which was a 9-5 into a championship run in 2020. That was off the backs of the legendary Alvin and Dalvin draft.
Alvin Dalvin.
That was psychotic. 2021, this is kind of where things took a little bit of turn for the worse here. So 4-10 in 2021. That was a big Derrick Henry injury. End of the year on an 8-game losing streak. Not great. I don't think that's something that had hit him very often. So that was shocking, I think, for everyone to see. 2022, 7-7. That was a very good team that just couldn't get over the hump. A tough year overall, external factors. 2023, again, 7-7. Tough one as well. We were all sort of battling each other in this crazy division in 2023 that benefited from the divisional rules. And then last year, another tough one. Spring goes 5-9. And that was also just a really tough luck season.
Tough luck. So I think spring's draft strategy usually goes for some, heavy hitters on his team. And he's had 4 straight years of a combination of events, obviously injuries, good teams that didn't live up to potential, where that strategy didn't work out. We talked about this a little bit on the last podcast that it's kind of it's a solid strategy, right? If you hit on those guys and they reach their full potential, then I think you have a good shot at the playoffs. It just hasn't really worked out for spring over the last 4 years. And then last season, I think you can make an argument about that trade that he made with Evan early on, kind of being the nail in the coffin. He had a real deep team, real good looking team, and made a bet on some high profile players, but gave away some people that turned out to be, league winners potentially, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So maybe he's going to learn from that. Maybe not. I don't know. But I just feel like positive regressions in store for someone who's had such prolific historical success. But then again, we talk about this with our guy, Griffin Hunter. Spring hasn't had as much success since he's got 1 championship during auction era, but it was the bubble year, so it doesn't really count. And 4 straight years of maybe the auction not treating him so well. So I don't know, Spring, is it an auction thing? Is it a strategy thing? Is it just bad luck? What do you think, Tom?
I think for a lot of his teams, I'll just speak candidly and really objectively. In this span of time, he's had at least a couple more teams that have been really good teams.
Yeah.
And so, I've been on that side of things where it's like, there's just nothing you can do to make it work out for you. Right. And no matter who you start, no matter what trade you make, it just seems like, you're destined to lose. So, I don't know. To me, I think it's more outlier than anything. I think Springfield is very, very cerebral in his draft approach. I rank him up there, and I don't know this off the top of my head as far as the rankings of guys, but he's definitely a top drafter in my opinion.
I agree.
Minimum top 5, probably top 3, maybe higher. He always, and he's also one of the most knowledgeable about the NFL. And I think that's a really lethal combo. Something that shows itself a lot with like a team with a Griffin Hunter, who I think is really tops in those categories as well. You can do all the fantasy research you want. And if you are locked in the fantasy realm, then more than likely you're going to be able to sort of put together a good team with just stuff that you're reading and things that make sense based on other experts and composite rankings and all that. But there is an extra gear that I think is unlocked when you're really savvy about the NFL. And Springfield has that. He always seems to he always seems to end the draft with a guy or two that like he has just some gumption on that. Like, it's not like they're complete sleepers. Maybe they're well known, but they're just like, okay, if it's a guy that costs $40, obviously that's a good player, but like he has his guy where he's like, I feel good about this, that they're going to outproduce that $40 value. Right. Similar to like how Graham, and this is like, for those of you that don't know, Graham was all about Saquon last year. Like that was his guy. Right. And he ended up getting him mid 40s. And that was the move of his season, was having that guy, knowing that's who we wanted to walk out the draft with. And then it obviously resulted in the best version of itself, but that was his guy. Springfield always has a guy or two that's like his that guys. And that seemingly hit because of the gumption he had and whatever insight or feeling that goes along with that. So that's like Springfield always does that well. So it's very rare for him to come out of the draft with the bad team. Last year, I think he actually took a step back from his heavy hitter approach as far as, and I can't speak for if this was his actual strategy, but I think he went in, and this is just off recall, I think he went in with a much more sort of like tiered down approach or more value-based approach where he didn't spend top dollar. He waited for sort of the coin to be more in the mid 40s, I think, or lower before he started making his picks. And he ended the draft with a lot of depth, but also a lot of really heavy hitter guys. So if he takes that same approach this year, he's going to be scary again. Traditionally Griffin hasn't been, I think, as active with like trading and the waiver wire. I think a lot of that goes into just his confidence in the guys that he has. And, in some ways, I think gumption, there's a double-edged sword to it, right? There's a gumption that it allows you to draft guys that are good. But then I think sometimes, and I see this with a guy like Griffin Hunter sometimes too, it makes you hold on to guys a little more too. Jason, I think, feels like this has this sometimes as well. Maybe hold on to them a little too long, even if they're good players. So that's the only thing. We'll see if, he wants to drop the sword on some guys sooner rather than later. But I mean, you look at some of these teams he's had, a lot of good players last year, a lot of really good team, bad circumstances, 2022, super good team, bad circumstances. So long-winded way of saying the way I see Griffin's current profile is, I expect a good season out of him. I expect him to walk out of the draft with a good team. Curious to see what kind of in-season activity is in store for him. Yeah, and just a little more context since 2019, even though he's had some up and downs and, maybe we call it a drought, he's finished top 5 in scoring 4 of those 6 seasons. So there you go. And finished 12th twice. And one of those times was when his, go big strategy didn't work out with injuries. And I'm not sure what happened the other time, but all right, moving on. Yeah. That's one thing I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see Spring navigate an injury riddled season. Yeah. I haven't seen that aspect often. So he drafted the team last year to do it. And then he traded away a lot of that depth, but yeah, his week 1 roster last year, I mean, he was the guy that we were having these podcasts, and early on the first half of the season was like that, that's scary. You don't want to play it. So yeah, we'll see, but that's Springfield. Who do you want to go over next? Let's look at Jay, because we know the story over the last couple seasons, but maybe we can bring back in some historical context of early on in the auction era and maybe paint a picture of optimism moving forward. Yeah, for sure. So Jay, starting in 2019, at that point, he was still in a nice sustained run of relevance and actually success across the board. It hasn't actually been until recently that, things have dipped. And I think we've all kind of publicly acknowledged that, but 2019, Jay went 8-6, didn't make the playoffs that year, but solid run. 2020, he didn't make the playoffs that year, but number 1 point scored that season. So that context. I didn't write down those notes. So please, if you're looking at them, shout that out, because that's important context. Missed the playoffs, number 1 point scored. I think that probably fueled part of the divisional thing there. Although it was not record that kept him out. He would have been out regardless.
Now we're getting sidetracked, but 2019, we still only had 4 teams going to the postseason.
Yep,
so
exactly. So he wouldn't have made it regardless. But anyways, 8-6, 2020 repeat at 8-6. I believe that was a playoff appearance for him.
Third place finish for him.
2021, do you have that? He finished 8-6 again in 2021. Did he make the playoffs?
Solid run. 8-6 is just real solid. And he made the playoffs, 6th seed. Another solid year scoring. Towards the top half there.
3 straight years, 8-6, 2020 and 2021 playoff appearances. Post 2021, I think this is where things start to turn a little bit, maybe coinciding with some dadhood potentially.
Yeah. So first year of Izzy's life.
Izzy's dad goes 4-10 in 2022. And then he follows that up in 2023 with a 7-7 season. And then last year we get 4-10 again. So I think did Jay get last place in 2022 or was that Jack's last year?
No, Jay got last place.
Okay. Yeah. So last place 2 out of the last 3 years, sandwiched in between a 7-7 season. Obviously not ideal. And this is 3 years, right? So 3 years of evidence here. To me, I see this as a snapshot in time that is obviously reversible, right? Because pre-2022, I think, and I'm not looking at all these seasons, but certainly if you go back into the pre-auction era, Jason had many seasons above 500. I think consistently was one of a maybe top 5 and above 500 finishes, right? Life, personal stuff, work, family, all that last 3 years haven't been great. We've seen it affect fantasy. We also seen it affect his, not just the performance, but also his engagement with the league. So what are you expecting out of Jason this year? I know we've already touched on it, following up with the last place punishment, but do you see a turnaround year actually in the cards for Jay?
So Jay has the foundation for sure. Right. I mean, he's got the knowledge. He obviously has the history of having been successful. I think what will be interesting to see with Jay is I feel like our league is so involved and there's so much activity that you have to be nimble and you have to be willing to maybe augment your strategy that you had going into the draft. There's just, if you think about the past 6 years of the auction era, there's not a lot of people that draft a team and then just don't do much and then win the championship. And I think Jay's made a couple moves or a couple years ago.
Only 2 teams, 2020 spring and last year Graham fit that profile.
Yeah. And
potentially your team with Tom Brady, but that was like you hit on some starlets, like some gems.
I got super lucky with
Tom Brady, with Debo and Tom Brady.
I hit on some like people in the draft, but then I got super lucky picking up all I had was Kamara. I had no RB2s. And so I just had to like stream RB2s. I got super lucky with Darrell Henderson so
that doesn't fit the profile.
Right. It doesn't really fit the profile. And I was super active when you look at moves and stuff like that. The draft was awesome, teams. But yeah.
2 out of 6.
So, and you look at like Jay last year had a lot of conviction in a lot of his guys that I would argue, and this is just my opinion, caused him to overvalue guys when he could have like potentially offloaded CeeDee Lamb, but he valued CeeDee so high or like he overvalued a guy like Zay Flowers for most of the season last year when he's like trying to, make some moves and get some pieces on his team. So the irony is like, if you look at Zay Flowers' season last year, he got really good late in the season and kind of justified a lot of Jay's opinion. The problem is by that point, Jay was already well out of it, so I feel like we've got a league where people are constantly tinkering and making moves and trying to do what they can on a week to week basis to gain an advantage. Yeah. And so I don't know. Jay's never been like that, but this new Jay, right? New year, new Jay, maybe. We'll see. Maybe.
But I think you bring up some really, really great points there because ultimately we got to call a spade a spade. Like there's a reason why that question got asked to Jay in the last place punishment section, right? Like Jay, if he's being honest with himself, it's not, if it's always the other 11 people's fault and not yours, I think that there needs to be a little bit of reflection on like, okay, maybe my mindset is a little bit too rigid. Maybe I'm not super flexible. And to your point, maybe I'm overvaluing my guys. Maybe I'm dying on this hill more than needs to be, right? Like, I know for a fact that not every trade that was sent Jay's way, which obviously he's exaggerating for the sake of answering the question, was a waiver wire guy and a wide receiver 3 for CeeDee Lamb. I know that for a fact. I explicitly know multiple trade offers that were made for different guys of Jay. Now, when you're not in a good when you're not in a good position mentally, when you're disengaged from the league, obviously you're going to have a shorter leash when it comes to, taking trades in and thinking that you're just offloading your best player for someone else that has a better team. You're jealous of that better team. You're bitter and you're resentful of your own team. I know that all goes into it. But if we're going to turn a new leaf or be a little bit more open, I think Jason definitely needs to have a little bit more awareness, self-awareness when it comes to the trading market, the players in the league. Brennan's been mentioned a couple times, both by Jason, by Griffin Hunter. I think Jason and Griffin Hunter share similar qualities as far as the willingness to move on from guys. It can be totally justified in the moment and totally smart as far as like things that they are, holding to be true with the guys and reasons why they don't want to trade them and all of that. But there's a lot of these, like you said, week to week trades that are getting made. Sometimes you just gotta, even if it's not what you want to do, you gotta change with the times, right? Like, if Brennan is a guy, and there's a bunch of people like that want to consider a week to week market and roster composition, then that's their prerogative, right? And if you're abstaining from that just out of principle, that's only going to hurt your team in the long run, right? That's not a good strategy. So as much as you want to, look down upon the individual trades and how they might have turned out, and say that they were dumb or you wouldn't do them or it's an open market and everyone can just grab whoever you want. If you're not actively exploring that, then that's on you. That's not Brennan's fault. Brennan is trying to do what he needs to do and it's worked out in a lot of instances. That's for Brennan. Key.
Yeah. Brennan made a whole bunch of trades last year that people gave him shit for, and Brennan made the playoffs. Brennan made a whole bunch of trades the year before and he went to the championship. So, call it what you might, but
listen, all I'm saying, there's no right or wrong way necessarily to do something. But if you, out of principle, are not entertaining new options, or you're have a lot of consternation towards someone who's doing something that is actually like you're the exception, not the norm, not them, then I think there needs to be a reevaluation. Strategically, it's in your best interest to reevaluate how you attack that general realm of trade and player evaluation and all of that. That's just my 2 cents. I'm not saying that anyone individually is wrong for their strategy or they're not educated in making the moves that they're making, but you have to understand your league mates. You have to understand what the norm is and, integrate yourself somehow.
And our league these days, especially, is not a league where you're just going to be able to like totally trade rape someone. And if that's your standard for a good trade, like that, I can only make this trade if it's definitely only a good deal for me. And I'm not saying, Jay, that that's your strategy, but that's how it's perceived sometimes.
Yeah. And you have to take context matters. Like context absolutely matters. Like if you're a struggling team and you have a losing record and you out of principle don't want to trade to a team that has a winning record, that's on you. Like that should not impact the trade at all whatsoever. Neither should the perception of your league mates. Like people should not be like complaining because the second or third or best team in the league made a trade with a team that's trying to get better, and it impacts and helps their team as well. Like it is a week to week game, and you need to, as a manager, like I said, I'm not trying to patronize or tell anyone how to work, but I think it's most advantageous if you're in a bad position to just suck it up and make a trade that, you know, maybe makes a team better as well, that you wish you were in the same position as them as, but also might spark something new in your team. Change it up.
Mix up the juju.
Mix up the juju, get some new players in. Maybe it helps out your team. Like maybe it doesn't, but if your team already sucked as is, then like, you know, what's the difference? So yeah, it's there's a lot of dynamism to it, right? It's very nuanced. It's very organic. A lot of that stuff is changing how you evaluate, but we'll see. I'm interested to see how Jay addresses that whole concept, and we'll see if maybe he can turn a new leaf. And you know, he certainly has the savvy, and he's a good fantasy player and knows value. And I think there's just a little internal battle to get over the hump with that a principle for him.
New year, new Jay. Let's go, Jay.
Absolutely. All right, so let's move on here. We are, I think we go to Luke and Dom.
Yeah.
Let's go to Luke and Dom. Number 3 in this unnamed division. They've been really good the last 3 years, actually last 4 years. That's really where it turned a leaf, I think was 2021. But going back to the first year of the auction era, they went 5-9. Following,
just to butt in here real quick, do we know for sure when Dom's assistance was brought on board? Because I want to say it was like a couple years into the auction, and maybe this is part of the enigma, but
the first time it's on file is 2020.
2020. Okay.
2020, Luke's, and sorry, as I pull it up here, give me a second, but Luke's name in 2020 was Team Dom. So
that's pretty blatant.
I think that 2020 was Dom's initial insertion. I mean, maybe Luke was getting assistance on the side, but as far as like publicly accessible information, I think it was 2020. Nonetheless, that first year, you know, a lot of changes internally with the team, the organization, another 5-9 year. So Luke goes 5-9 in 2019 and 2020. At this point, obviously still the butt of jokes. But then 2021, like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Oh yeah.
Luke's team turns a corner. And I think this might've been, it's either maybe the second winning record that a Luke team ever had. I can't verify that, so fact check me if you know this. But 2021, Luke goes 8-6, and then that pretty much started a sustained 4-year run here. 2022, 8-6, really good team. 2023, 8-6 as well, another really good team that faltered down the stretch. And then last year, sort of the crescendo of his strategy, goes 11-3, second best record, tied for me, but lost to points scored. But double-digit win season for him, and really a heavy hitter all year. So
I think the biggest storyline with Luke and Dom, beyond can they get over the hump of like, they've been really competitive now for 3 years, but have flamed out, and they have all this depth, but it doesn't come together at the end of the season. The other storyline is just kind of what we were talking about earlier, which is this draft strategy that they've had for the past couple of years sustainable? Because if Chris Godwin is not the number 2 wide receiver through the first 5 weeks, if Brock Bowers as a rookie tight end is not tight end 1, if you end up with a real mediocre team real fast, and the past few years, especially, I feel like you've looked at Luke and Dom's team coming out of the draft, and you're like, damn, that's deep, but are they going to be able to string together some wins to start the season? And the answer has been yes, and they haven't had a hole that they have to dig out of. So can that keep up? And there's no way to tell. Yeah,
that's actually a really good point. Something that we've hit on is it's a good strategy. It sets you up to have a buffer if things start to go bad as far as injuries go, right? More than likely, you're not going to like have a team that's horrible with that kind of depth, because it's not just depth, it's high quality depth, even from the get-go. It's like he's not filling out his team with like, oh, I got a good $3 guy, I got a good $4 guy. It's like he's filling his team out with like $10, $15, $20 guys, because that's the way he's been drafting. But I think when it comes to their team not performing at ceiling levels, like you mentioned, at that point, you know, it really comes down to how fast do you offload the guys that you have? How much value do they retain if they are just wide receiver 3s, or maybe low end wide receiver 2s, or running back 3s, or low end running back 2s? Because at that point, it becomes a lot harder to turn those guys into the Derrick Henrys of the world, right? And I think for Luke and Dom, the last piece, and again, this is kind of hard because their team has been so deep, but they essentially draft and then set it on autopilot, right? They draft, they've had good solid depth, they field offers, right? Or they reach out. Luke and Dom have done a good job of that. Like Luke's approached me the last couple of years with, hey, do you want to trade so-and-so for so-and-so?
Yeah, they're always open to talk.
Always open to talk. They're evaluating. But essentially when it comes to there's nothing with the waiver wire, right? That's the one thing. And it's like, you just haven't seen someone who's does nothing on the wire, win. And so that's a lot of pressure on the draft, hitting it perfectly. And then if it doesn't work out perfectly in the draft, it's a lot of pressure to GM the hell out of those pieces to preserve whatever value they have if they aren't the best case versions of themselves, right? So you have to be immaculate in the draft and immaculate with your GM skills if you're not going to do anything on the waiver. Now, maybe that'll change his waiver dynamic if his team doesn't perform at that sort of peak level right off the bat. We'll see. But that for me is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's a good question. I honestly don't even know. Like if Luke and Dom open up the season 0-5 and have all the pieces, but it's just like too many mediocre pieces. I don't know that you see him hitting the waiver. I don't know. Maybe you see some more action on trades and stuff like that. Good. Maybe we'll find out this season. That's storyline to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But either way, really competitive team the last few years. I mean, ultimately, tough luck. I mean, even last year, his team scored 139 in the semifinals against mine. Like, he had a really good team last year. Yeah, solid. Really good team. You had to score a lot to beat him. He was always going to be like a very consistent output. And, like a lot of managers that have good teams, it just comes down to if you do make the playoffs, it's really just a couple matchups here and there, and things could be drastically different. I mean, Luke could have 2 rings in the last 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
So
it's just, that's the luck piece of all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So curious to see what happens there. And then lastly, to finish off, put a cap on this division, we have our commissioner, Graham Simmons, Mr. Alchemist himself, secured ring number 3 last year, putting him number 2 in the ring leaderboard there, leapfrogging a big cluster F of 2 ring managers in the process. Trying to do something that is incredibly rare that, I would think would never happen just from pure chance, but 3 rings in a row would put him at number 4, would put him 1 behind Springfield at a number that was previously thought to be untouchable, years and years away. I guess quick profile hitter for Graham. What strikes you about Graham as a manager before we jump into his history?
I think Graham as a fantasy player over the entire history of this league has walked softly and carried a large stick. And sometimes it doesn't work out for him. Sometimes he flames out and he's down there kind of in the dregs. And then other times he's just like this unstoppable force, but he does it in like a real consistent, unflashy kind of way. He, like you said, he picks his guys. And when those guys hit, that's great. A lot of conviction. And then sometimes it doesn't work out. So to me, that's sort of like when I think of him as a fantasy football player, he's just sort of like a constant force, if that makes sense.
Omnipresent force that's just floating around. Okay.
Commissioner.
Good way to put it. I think Graham, if he had to describe his style as a manager and also sort of his presence in the league historically, I think he would probably say that the last few seasons are his most engaged and locked in and trying to make plays happen. I don't think he would prop himself up beyond that. I think historically, I know Graham he's always coming in, like you said, with his guys. He locks in when he needs to be locked in. He knows a lot, right? He's always going to be well-read, well-educated. And I think for him, it's just about, managing all the bandwidth of everything that goes into fantasy, right? Because it's impossible to be on some people's level, but just finding what works for you and then doing it with conviction. And I think that's what Graham has sort of settled into and done really well. It hasn't always been easy for Graham. I think he'll say that. If we go back to the start of the auction era, 2019. Graham's initial record that year, 5-9. Followed that up with a 6-8 season in 2020. Turned things around in 2021, 9-5 for Graham in 2021. Fell back off a little bit, 7-7 in 2022. Then rebounded into that historical, crazy championship season. He ended 7-7 that year, but ended the season blazing. I think it was 6 or 7 straight wins, including the postseason. In that crazy division we had, ends up winning, makes a couple really good trades to really position his team that second half of the year, overcame some injuries. And, for me, when I look at the season, as a quick aside, this is one of the reasons why I do like divisions, in the sense that it gives you a chance to stay alive if you're getting screwed by some big injuries, right? You keep grinding, keep hanging in there. A couple of things break your way with division. Maybe you can sneak in, and you had a team that deserved to be in from the get-go, right? And he made the plays that mattered end of the season, goes on this win streak, wins in 2023, but only a 500 record then. And then last year, Graham's best start to finish regular season in a long time. And I mean, best season overall, wins the championship, goes 10-4, really anchored by obviously Saquon and a couple big guys there. But yeah, hasn't really been great overall. 6 seasons, only 2 winning seasons. He did have that championship run at 7-7. Fortunate to get into the playoffs at that point. I think that's everyone's dream, right? You just try to make it, and then once you're in, anything can happen. So the beneficiary there, but yeah, two winning records out of 6 for Graham in the auction era.
Over the last couple seasons, we're going back to 2021, if you can remember, how would you describe Graham's strategy, draft and post-draft strategy?
Yeah, I think a little bit of mixed bag. He definitely, and I know this from talking to him, but definitely, wavers back and forth from the go get the big heavy hitter guy to anchor the team, and also being cost conscious. And I think that's obviously what we all sort of have that internal dread about how we want to approach it. But for the most part, I think Graham has been willing to spend and get that guy. But I think where he sort of transformed the last couple of years is finding a good balance between going and getting that guy, but also not getting a guy just to get a guy, not spending top dollar just to say you spent top dollar and having that guy on your team.
Yeah.
Figuring out who pre-draft, who you really want, like you said, having a guy or guys, and then making the play for that person, right? And I think sometimes, a lot of us can get stuck with I don't want to leave this time of the draft without getting one of those guys, and maybe they're $50 more, $60 more, but I want to have that because of their ranking and the pre-draft rankings and all that. And I think last year was really a crowning achievement for Graham as far as his draft strategy of, hey, I want to go in, identify a couple guys that are going to be high ranking guys, maybe not the top ranked guys if that's not how I see them, but I'm going to sort of be patient. I'm going to go get my guy, and I'm not going to, try to chase a Brees or a Bijan or a CMC just for the sake of having them on my roster. I'm going to sort of blend it. And, just because you have that strategy doesn't mean you're going to land a Saquon in a historic season every year. But I think that ultimately was the strategy, to have a couple of those guys identified and go and get them to anchor the team. And I think that's what he did.
Yeah, he had his guys. I think I loved his wide receiver situation last year specifically. It just it seemed really kind of muddled, but it was also just so epic. I mean, what Brian Thomas turned into, picking up Jawan, pairing Jawan, the Brock Purdy, Jawan Jennings stack down the stretch is really, really, I think, undervalued. And obviously Brock has carried him his past 2 championship seasons. So it's just, call it good scouting, identifying talent, whatever you want. I think outside of Saquon picking someone like that, but he's been good at picking up guys that are super, super impactful that otherwise, I mean, like Brock Purdy is, that's kind of what I meant. Graham's not the flashiest player. Brock Purdy is not Josh Allen, but Brock Purdy puts up Josh Allen type numbers sometimes, or as close as you could get, for a guy that is a $1 or $2 quarterback. So
yeah, he definitely has his guys, and I think what Graham, where Graham wants to, which I think he didn't have to do much of this last year, but just getting more in the mix. From what Graham has told me, like he does sometimes have, like, admittedly has some of that like attachment to his guys more so, where it's like season starts rolling and it's like, rather than, have that mental strain on yourself to always be trying to think of the next move or how to chess piece your guys, just like, all right, let's see how they roll. Let's see how they turn out. And I think, he wants to be more flexible with that, to be more in the mold. And like I said, last year, things just really worked. It was just an epic fantasy season as far as like, things really working out amazingly, right? Like across the board. And so I think, for Graham, that next step is finding ways to insert himself if he needs to have change, right? He didn't need it last year, but I think that's what he'll say. Probably like what he's trying to do is be more in the mix.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but it's going to be a really fun division. Across the board, everyone's really good, and anyone can win the league in that division. I expect a bunch of good teams. You have perennial heavy hitters. You have obviously, sustained excellence of late with Luke. You have Jay, who is a historical, contributor, a two-ring guy that's going to be really motivated to be active and play. And so, it's really anyone's division, but I mean, we highlighted it. We talked about all of them. So, let's get it down. Let's get it down on paper. I kind of already know where Graham's going based on what you said last time. So we'll see if you have
it's
time.
my chance to redeem myself.
Somewhat. You got to give a name somewhere, but give me your rankings, how this division is going to play out. We'll go 4 through 1.
4 through 1. Okay. Do I believe that this is New Year, New Jay, or that this is what we've seen for the past 3 years? Regression. Are we talking about regression here? So I think that we
don't even evaluate that. Just tell me, based on, we just did a big deep dive, player profiles, who is playing the style of fantasy football that you
we need
think
to be playing
is going to
right now.
That's going to translate to a
think.
Yeah.
I have so many conflicting emotions here. I think just intuitively, I am going to put Luke and Dom at the top of the division. Are they going to hit? Can they hit on the draft strategy again? Although mentally and emotionally, part of me is like, I just don't. Can you do that 3 years in a row? But they've been rolling. So Luke and Dom, number 1. I think that between Spring, Graham, and Jay, it's going to be probably super close. But I think Spring comes out second, then Graham, and then unfortunately Jay. But that doesn't mean Jay's, last place like the past few years. Let's hope that's not the case, but that's kind of what I'm feeling.
I like it. Okay. So you got Luke 1, Spring 2, Graham. So what are you thinking off the top for records wise?
This division for some reason, and maybe last year it was, I can't remember what the records were last year, but I feel like this is going to be the division this year where everyone's like, around 5 wins, 6 wins, like 5 and 9,
Nobody
6
good,
and
huh?
8, 7 and 7. Yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean the teams are bad necessarily. Like 2 years ago when you got last place, there were some really good teams in that division. Yours was really good. And you were 5 and 9 to end the year, right?
Well, I was 5 and 9, but it was there was also 2 7 and 7s and a 6 and 8.
Exactly.
And it was a good division.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I'm feeling that vibe for this division this year.
Okay. You heard it here first.
What about you?
Oh, I was thinking maybe I could escape.
No,
there
you're not
without giving my
escaping
answer. All right. Oh man. Based on who I feel like is, man, I really thought I was going to escape without giving it, but I guess that doesn't make any sense. So I'll start with last. Who I think of that group is going to get last in the division. And I think it's going to be Luke and Dom. I'm sorry.
It finally all falls apart this year, huh?
I think the league will be, I think this is what Kendall's hoping for. is going to be a little bit more cost savvy, a little bit. I think just more balanced, which is
more teams.
Which is, I don't think everyone's going to adopt the same exact strategy, but I think there's going to be a general drop in overall spending.
Interesting.
Which is going to maybe have a trickle down economic effect on Luke and Dom's ability to draft the kind of team that they're going for. So I can't, in good faith, for a team, and don't get me wrong here, I've complimented Luke and Dom's team many times on this podcast, but for a team that's going 0 waiver wire moves, you need a lot of things to go perfectly at the very start, right? So I just feel like these 3 other teams are going to be like really active, like really trying to get after it. And unless I see some inter-season change there from the Luke and Dom team, I'm going to put them at 4th. 3rd, this is where it gets tough here. 3rd place. Oh man, Graham, I'm not rooting for the regression, but I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be hard to have 3 straight championship worthy seasons. So at no fault of his own, I just think that maybe things are going to catch up in that way. So I'm going to put Graham at 3, rooting for that not to happen for UG. 2nd place, I'm going to put Jay here.
Let's go, Jay.
I think Jay's going to be locked in. I think he's going to have a good team.
Let's go.
I think he's going to absolutely have a good team. I think he's going to draft a good team. You know, what he does with it afterwards, maybe that's the difference between him winning this division or not. But I see a good team in Jay's future. And then number 1, I'm going to put Spring. I think 4 straight years of no playoffs is too long. Too long for Spring.
Yeah.
He's got, historically, there's too much there. He's too good of a player, and also he's had
good teams too.
Karmic. Yeah.
I mean, he's had 4 straight years of top 5 scoring, or 4 of the last 6 years of top 5 scoring. I mean, always a dangerous team on paper. So
I'll put him as a division leader there. So.
All right. You heard it here first.
And that was our episode 1 of our mini-series. How do you think we did? Captain Morgan,
I think we did pretty. I think we did pretty good, Thomas. I think we can bring it back next week.
The network's not going to cancel the.
I'm going to get with my guys. We'll make sure. Get to the other divisions here.
I think it was cool. I mean, I think it's obviously it's just 2 guys' opinions on these things.
Yeah, we don't know anything.
It's not. Yeah, it's not the end all be all. It's not. It's just opinion. I think that's why we do this podcast, right? Just to give our opinion on things. So
just to hear the sound of our voice.
No offense to any people that were referenced in the making of this podcast, but there we go. That's content for you guys. Next week, who are we profiling?
Oh shoot, we didn't plan this. I don't know. Well, we'll do our division last, I guess, right? Save the best for last.
There we go. Save the best for last. All right. So next week, we are going to take a look at the division that is Kendall Cook, Griffin Hunter, Brendan Hurley, and Casey.
That's going to be a fun episode, guys. Make sure to ring that notification bell, click follow.
I hope that should be the most testy division. I really hope it is. It should be. It was crafted as such. So don't let us down, division. We need lots of chatter. And nothing should be off limits, really.
No.
Guys, it's just, we're having fun here. We just got to take things on the chin. The more that we can talk some playful trash and have a good time with this, then we should. The more we should. So next week, stay tuned, guys. I think that kind of wraps up the show. How long have we been talking here, Sam? Over an hour?
Oh, we're over an hour.
An hour. Yeah. Just cruising over an hour. I thought it was pretty good, and we had some good insight there, some good content. I think we highlighted a lot of guys. Hey, I do want to shout out the rest of the league here. So let me go to everyone's names. Let me just see what they are so far. I don't like to do a podcast without, shouting out everyone in the league. Young Ev, he was only, I think, shouted out for being least engaged.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Lock in, baby. Lock in. You're going to be rearing and ready to go. I know you are. Evan just got a sick new part of his fence put in at his home.
Hey, congratulations, Ev.
Looks great. Evan's garden is popping off, going crazy. So
let's go.
Drop a garden emoji to Evan if you're hearing this and you want to compliment him on his botany skills. There's that. Shout out B. I don't know if we mentioned B much. Did we? Did we mention B much?
Yeah, a little bit. We're talking about trades. Yeah.
Okay. Shout out B. Excited to see you, Brendan, here coming up in just a few weeks. The Gall returns to the arena that is Southern California. Stoked. Bummed that we don't get to see the kids and Ari, but gonna be stoked to see you. Shout out Casey. We only kind of mentioned the worst manager aspect. Hey, you don't got to apologize for deep pockets. Just because you spend $1,500 on apps and software, there's nothing to be ashamed of. I wish I could spend $1,500. I don't got the coin for that. You should be proud of that, Casey. So shout out Casey's. His drafting teams have been great. So
Casey's put up points in his 4 seasons. Casey's always got a team that, like, you're praying that his top guys are on IR, that you catch them on those weeks and not when his guys are healthy.
Absolutely. Ken, shout out Ken. I mean, he can always get some love and get some mentioned. He's just that involved.
The engine of our league.
The engine. I don't know when the next piece of content's coming out, but I hope it comes out soon. By the way, I didn't get any love on my sort of like random content piece, Kendall. In fact, I didn't get a lot of love from a lot of people, but shout out to those of you that did. That was great. I did that for you guys.
It was a great piece.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was from the heart.
It was a good piece.
It's from the heart.
I really liked it. It really got me pumped.
Thank you. That's what I needed.
Really justified like kind of how I was feeling too about why do I do this every year?
Every year. Yeah. Some years worse than others. That was this year. But shout out Ben. Ben, what we haven't mentioned his emoji that needs to drop.
If you're still with us, go ahead and drop the dolphin emoji.
Drop the dolphin. And also, if you're in Wisconsin at this point, drop the cheese with the dolphin. If you're not there yet, don't drop the cheese.
If you're not there yet, see you this weekend.
This is as much. So shout out Jay for his response about engagement. But, if you're more engaged, Ben's probably the least engaged up there. No fault of Ben's, but these emojis really carry his involvement.
They do.
His engagement.
They're ticking him up the chart
This
here.
is how we learn publicly what's going on with Ben. So Ben, you heard it from Sam. Shark, if you listened, shark cheese if you are now in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Dolphin shark cheese emoji.
Shout out G Hunt. Didn't get a ton of shine. We did give him the love for the drafting skills. He has announced he is making the Temecula draft appearance. He's made that known.
Making the long journey from next door.
The long journey to the draft party that's in his city that he lives in. Kudos to G Hunt. Hopefully we'll get the kids to sleep before you come so you don't have to deal with those rascals running around. But we are glad that you're going to make the trip and draft with us. We wouldn't have it any other way. We need some of that. We need some of that oospa in the room.
Oospa.
We love it. We love the vibe. So excited to see you there. This is shaping up to be a really cool draft. We got Evan, ticket spot. He's cruising in. So also shout out Ev for making that happen. I think at this point, we're going to have about 8 out of 12.
Yeah. And Dom's going to be there.
And Dom. So 9 out of 13 potentially. Yeah. Shout out Dom for making the trip as well. Luke and Dom highlighted in this episode. So skip over there, but shout out those guys. Sorry for putting you last in my predictions. Spring and then Jay taking the rear there. Once again, that duo, shout out for making the punishment happen. And shout out to Emily for going to bed with that fine looking hunk that I saw in that video. Spring, I don't know what you're doing.
Let's go,
Must
Spring.
be something in the water.
Let's go.
But that's it for today's episode. I don't know if there's anything you want to touch on. I know I just monologued for about 3 minutes there.
Great episode. Good to be back. We got 3 weeks or 4 weeks until we're live, boys.
4 weeks to the biggest moment of our professional lives.
All comes down to this.
Actually, it's less than 4 weeks. Less.
Less than 4 weeks until kickoff.
25 days. Oh, draft.
Yeah. Draft's in 25 days. I think 4 weeks from tomorrow, opening day.
You better be ready. Kendall's ready. And I guess the bar's pretty low. If you can start off 1-6 to start this season, you're probably more than ready. Well, no, that wouldn't be. Oh, I guess. Yeah. If you want to be on his level, that's true. You got guys. You can make that happen. Reach heights that, you've never reached before. And I think 0-8 would be the height that.
Let's get our first 0-12 team.
I was daydreaming today about my mental health. If I was able to go 0-14 with the most points scored.
We've never had an 0-14.
With the most points scored is what I was going down that rabbit hole.
It might do you in.
I asked ChatGPT, what place do you think I'd be in mentally if I started my fantasy football season, if I finished my season 0-14, but I had the most points scored.
What did ChatGPT say?
It just linked a couple gun stores in the area.
Oh boy.
It hasn't developed that dark humor cut yet, but I encouraged it. Yeah. Anyways, you know what to do, Sam. Hey guys, it was a pleasure. We're looking forward to next week, continuing the series, adding some additional segments in there. As we get closer to football season, we will pivot a little bit away from boring you with the dad talk and inject that football into your veins. But as of now, you got to deal with it for a couple more weeks.
Just 2 more weeks, boys.
All right, let's get vibey, Sam. Take us out. We love you, boys. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Peace.